On this show, we will first off ask you to give the thumbs up, please, and share this with a friend if they enjoy combat sports whatsoever. I'm here to tell you guys about some fighters you may not have heard of. And a lot of times, I can't get a great handle on which fighters you may not have heard of. I mean, a lot of times I know if you're more of a casual kind of boxing fan, if you're not a hardcore fan who's been watching the sport for years and tries to watch every single weekend, you would not know a lot of these names. But the guy that we're going to start off with today, this episode, by the way, is about up-and-coming African-American fighters that are extraordinarily good and possibly the start of a new generation of the next big things in boxing. So again, here's the disclaimer for these episodes. We're not going to be talking about, Tank Davis or Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford. I mean, take your fucking pick. There are just a vast majority of this sport is in the hands of young black fighters, to be honest with you. And so take your pick from them. This is a specific show to tell you in general about these athletes that you may not have heard of already. That is the premise of this show. And so our first guy, I have to get him out there because really you should know his name. But if you don't, that's okay. That's why I'm here. The first guy we're going to talk about today, you got to know the name. He's the next big thing in boxing. His name is Jaron Boots Ennis. And he is an absolute phenomenon. And I mean that in every sense of the word. He is 29-0. He has incredible victories already under his record. A good name under 23-5 at the time, Juan Carlos Abreu. The absolute dispatching of Sergey Lipinets, who really I thought Jaron would win that fight, but I thought Sergey, this is a great test, and man, he just annihilated him very quickly. The fight, I don't believe, even saw the third round. And Thomas Delorme, 25-5, that's a good win as well. And his last win over an at the time undefeated 19-0 Custio Clayton, another guy who had fought Sergey Lipinets. But yeah, he's on the rise. He is the mandatory title challenger for, I believe, the WBC, but it's one of those belts for Errol Spence, that Errol Spence owns, because he is a 147-pound welterweight, and he is Vasily Lomachenko-esque in the angles that just as good, but in the angles, because every fight is a little different. He takes beautiful angles, like Lomachenko is known for. He throws from orthodox and southpaw positions as well. And there aren't, I don't even want to say a lot of fighters that can do that, but there are quite a bit these days that can switch stance, right? And fight from orthodox or southpaw position. This guy is different in the sense that he switches his stance mid-combination. So, and that is something that has seldom has been seen before. It's not the first time it's ever been done, but it is a sight to behold and something truly rare in boxing for being one of the oldest sports there is. So he will start from either or, really. I've seen him start from either stance, but let's say he's starting from the orthodox position, right, where his power hand, his right hand, is behind and his jab hand is his left hand. When he is throwing combinations, let's say he throws a 1-2 and then a left uppercut, let's say. So his 1-2 is boom, 1, right? And then this is a normal 1-2 from orthodox, right? 1-2, and then you throw the lead uppercut, right, with your left hand, because that's out front. He could throw the 1-2, and when he throws the 1, and he'll step into the 2. So he starts this combination. They see his feet, and they have to guard up, and they know he's in the orthodox position right now. But he'll throw the 1, step into the 2, and then deliver the uppercut or a hook or whatever from the opposite hand that is not supposed to be his power hand, is now he's in a southpaw stance, and that can be his power hand. He's just he bewilders and befuddles fighters in there, and they just don't know what to do with him. And he is the strong star of this episode. Now we're gonna get into some guys that I do believe more so maybe you haven't heard of. Again, disclaimer: if you're a casual boxing fan, to any, it's not a dirty word, but to any sort of extent that is. Next guy we're going to be talking about is Jarad Big Baby Anderson. Jarad Big Baby Anderson is all KOs as a pro. He is 11-0 right now, and he is a heavyweight. 100% KO ratio thus far. Now, is he fighting cab drivers? We don't know, okay? It's that's kind of just how boxing works. He's still in the early stages of his career, and that's just kind of how the promotion sets it up. They know they have a valuable guy. They want to build up his name a bit before they start giving him some tests that he can really lose fights in, just like is true with any other fighter. But Jarad Anderson, he hasn't fought a lot of names that are worthy of putting down here. But he's a guy who kind of jumped right into the pros because he did have, some amateur fights under his belt, and he looked incredibly promising as an amateur prospect and to go to the Olympics and whatnot. And he has been signed by, lo and behold, ESPN Top Rank. And if you guys have watched this show, we did a special back in the day, which again, still relevant now. I'd put a lot of time into it, but we talked about the different promotional bodies in boxing, or the different broadcast, the different promotions in boxing, right? So basically, there's whatever one you like more or less, up to you. But the truth is that there is one promoter who makes their thing to stand out as taking in all the new young talent, as opposed to trying to acquire and keep proven names and names that are big draws today. And that promotion is Bob Arum's ESPN Top Rank, where they are very fond of going to the Olympics and giving people contracts straight out of watching the Olympics. They are out there and putting up good money to acquire young fighters that look very promising, that might not be big draws now, that they might have to start in 4 to 8 round fights as a pro, right, on an undercard that not a lot of people watch, but it's an investment. And Jarad Anderson, big baby, the real big baby as far as I'm concerned. The other big baby in boxing is taking lots of steroids and just, kind of ruining his own career. He's the cause of his own demise. This is the real big baby Anderson, Jarad Anderson, a good guy and a humble guy. And you watch interviews with him, and being as he is 100% knockout rate, and is an incredible young talent in boxing that's supposed to be a part of this next new wave that will eventually take over. He has not tasted defeat yet. He is riding an absolute high in life, a well-deserved one, but he's riding one. And when they interview him multiple different occasions, he has said, and they say, you are on top of the world, and what do you think about that? And another beautiful KO, and you just have bright stuff written all over you in your future. And he will always respond to that with, I don't think about that. I don't think about that. I'm trying to remain, humble, and to learn as much as I can, and to use each one of these matchups that they give me to get better, not to think, it's not a hard test, so or it's not a big draw or a name I recognize or other people recognize, and so I'll just wipe him out and I can't wait for big fights. That's a mistake that a lot of athletes do in boxing, younger athletes, that when they're building up, a lot of them do want, the best competition to fight. They believe they're the best, and so that kind of confidence is important, to believe you're the best, but more along the lines of when you're a younger athlete, I think it's healthier, at least in boxing, to believe that I can be the best. And I will take kind of healthy steps in getting there, as Jared Anderson is, remaining humble. And the thing is not overlooking people and going in there and then knocking them out and screaming, oh, I want, Deontay Wilder. I want Tyson Fury. I want Derek Chisora. I want these big names. I want Usyk. I want Joshua. This is a guy who's humble, who knows where he's at. He's appreciating where he's at in life and his age, and is moving, I believe, in the correct kind of way of taking advantages of learning more and more and getting better and better, honing his skills over time. The last guy that we got for you on this list is what I'm most proud of. Aside from Jaron Boots Ennis, which, like I had said previously, you should know his name already. If you didn't, I wanted to put him on here anyway. But he is by far the more famous of these three fighters that I'm putting on this episode. This last guy, very possible that he is just as talented and one of the most talented fighters in boxing, but also I'm pumping the brakes because he is young and he is just starting off, but his potential jumps off the screen, similar to Jaron Boots Ennis, similar to Vasily Lomachenko in his first few fights or whatever. This kid is an absolute animal, and his name is Bruce Shoo Shoo Carrington, fighting out of Brooklyn, New York. That is where he is from. Shoo Shoo, an Egyptian name, the meaning of it, the one who conquers, I believe it is, or not the one who conquers, it's the one who rises above. Shoo Shoo means the one that rises above in Egyptian. That is what he was named after. Man, this guy's an absolute talent. He's incredible. Won Olympic trials in 2020, defeating Duke Reagan, who was considered the best American talent going into that Olympics in boxing. And he beat Duke Reagan and handled that business. He makes fights look absolutely effortless. And the reason is because he is a combination of these things. He has unreal countering ability, very defensive, but at the same time, very patient. And then at that same time, as well as being patient with his counters, he is no Jermell Charlo, let's say, that can powerhouse a counter in and put somebody's lights out, but is super patient and a good defensive boxer. Bruce Shoo Shoo Carrington is, when you watch him, you come away with, oh, he is very patient, only because he doesn't waste a lot of shots, right? But at the same time, then you watch the fight, and he lets his hands go. So he's not wasting. He is patient in the sense that he doesn't waste shots, but also he is relentless about never, ever, ever, not once missing an opportunity to put his hands on his opponent, to counter his opponent, to jab in the face of his opponent if he's inactive, to go to the body when he slips a punch and is off to the side. Just anything. Bruce Shoo Shoo Carrington is an absolutely unreal talent who jumps off the screen, and that is why I put him in this episode of Unknown to Casuals, and he is my kind of crown jewel at the end of this thing, because again, Jaron Boots Ennis, little bit longer, right? He didn't just come into the pros, and you should know his name. He just hasn't gotten the big fight, Jaron Boots Ennis, but Shoo Shoo Carrington's a guy still fighting 4-rounders, 8-rounders, right? He is only 4-0 right now as a pro and just started. So if you see him, and you will a lot, because these guys fight a lot because they're just starting out in the pros. So he's an absolute treat to look out for on ESPN Top Rank undercards. And And that being said, that's our show. We're at the beach right now. I'm enjoying myself with my daughter. We will put out at least another short, I think, before this weekend to kind of combine. Hopefully go check out that Return of the Mick Michael Conlon episode that I did. And we discussed about that fight. But along with that pick, we're going to have some MMA, UFC related picks to put out on the short, where I always give you guys good parlays that will win fight picks from the future. Go and check those out as well. And until next time, loyal fight fans, I hope you enjoyed these episodes. I'm going to keep doing them because I think it's important not only to, promote these fights and get their names out there and get you guys knowing about them if you're into watching boxing, but if you're into buying a pay-per-view, for boxing that costs $70, $75, and you're only interested because you know the guy's name in the main event, these episodes are meant for you, the loyal fight fan, to appreciate these cards more and get more of your money's worth because you can recognize the name and say, oh, hey, I've seen that guy talked about. Let's check him out. Let's see how he is. And these names I'm giving you, they will impress, win or lose.